Welcome to the Mindset Connection podcast, and thank you for joining us for our 40th episode. Can you believe it or not, this is episode number 40.
Cannot
it's crazy. We are your hosts, Jennifer Clearwaters and Cindy O'Connell. And if you are new to us, welcome. In every episode, we are showcasing people doing amazing things in the field of mental health and wellness. And we are doing just that today. We have a very special guest. We are welcoming Alex Karwoski from Peloton, and he is here. He is a running and rowing instructor, and he's done way more than that. And we're going to tell you a little bit about him. So Alex is a husband and a father, a marathon runner, and a rowing, running, and walking coach for Peloton. A native of New Hampshire, he's also an Olympic rower and went to games both in Rio in 2016 and Tokyo in 2020. Alex has represented the U.S. on 10 national teams and is also named U.S. Rowing Male Athlete of the Year in 2019. What an accomplishment.
Yes, congratulations.
In addition to all of that, Alex has a degree in civil and environmental engineering from Cornell, an MBA from Columbia Business School. So he's very smart too and an athlete. Alex's classes at Peloton are truly musical journeys that are filled with movie soundtrack songs and themes. And when you least expect it, you will still be talking about it later on. Just before the recording, I was telling him about what I ran this morning, and I'm still thinking about it. So Alex is calmly always telling you about his love for dogs, Legos, history, and his family. He's definitely an inspiration for doing hard things. And if you've seen our episodes before, we are always showcasing people who are doing hard things. And Alex has often said in his class, you have to be consistent, get up and try again. And he said, you win some and you lose most.
Very true.
I love that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Such a treat.
So, this first question, we put way too many questions in it, but
You said that she's like, we're never going to get to all of them.
I'm going to break it down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So tell us your story. How did you get into rowing? It's not exactly, I want to be a rower.
I just want to be a rower. It's really
usually
hard.
It's basketball, soccer, baseball.
As I will say, rowing is not the most easily accessible sport.
No.
Right.
I would say for better or for worse, it's one of those, barriers to entry is you need water, you need boathouse, you need boats, you need oars, you need all these things. There's a safety element, of course. I was fortunate enough to go to boarding school for high school and grew up playing soccer, doing the more normal sports, and then got to boarding school, did cross country in the fall, basketball in the winter. And then, of course, we did not have a spring track team. And so, like a lot of kids, maybe, I said, rowing is similar to running. It's just you're sitting down and
just using your arms instead of your legs.
Yeah. And I was very much wrong, but I've never been happier to be wrong about something. And that was freshman year of high school. And kept growing from there.
Isn't it interesting that the sports that we think that we are going to excel at or going to be, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden you see an opportunity and that turns into the magic trick, basically. So where did you go to prep school?
I went to Groton School in Groton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because, that would be like CBA around here has a rowing team.
Yep.
Not too many other schools.
No, New Jersey's a good hub of rowing.
It is.
Yeah,
okay.
You got
Most
Lawrenceville.
the prep
a lot.
schools.
The prep schools.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
The prep
Prep
schools.
schools. Yes.
Yeah. That's why I thought maybe you were even in New Jersey, but. All right, so that's not exactly an easy sport to stick with. Did you
It's also very competitive.
Did you fall in love with it, or are you just good at it?
I don't know if it was okay. The falling in love, I can say, now looking back, yes, of course, right.
Okay.
The beauty of being on the water. It was on the Nashua River. You're with your teammates. All this, even when it's cold out and the water splashes you, and you're like, stop doing. There's still something about being with those people that you're genuinely working hard at something. And I assure you, I was not very good at it initially. Rowing is a leverage-based sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
You slide up and down, primarily legs, but then you have the coordination of your body, the arms. We would joke, with basketball, you do like the shooting motion, like soccer, you kind of move your leg. With rowing, people go like, like rowing, but it's really not about your arms at all, but you're not going to start doing an air squat to show them that it's a legs and body thing. So to get back to your question, I joke with people now that as a relatively gangly white kid from New Hampshire, there weren't a lot of sports that I was going to go to the Olympics for, or even have the potential to go to the Olympics for. And rowing would be probably one of the three, maybe. So I realized junior year of high school that far fewer people rowed in the world than ran or played basketball. And yes, I was slightly more talented in the field of rowing than running or playing basketball. So I stuck with it. And yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So you took advantage of that opportunity.
Yep.
Yes, I was, again, very lucky. My brother was the one who went. So I'm the youngest of 4 kids. Both my sisters did not go to prep school. And I think perhaps because of that, my parents said, you know what, maybe for the boys, let's send them away, see how they do. And my brother went away, and I swore, he's 2 years older than I am. And when he left, I swore, it's like, I'm never leaving my friends. You know, I could
Not
possibly
doing this.
And then I visited him once, maybe the second time. I came home and I was like, I gotta go. This is just the fact that you are removed from having your parents, you know, oversee everything in your life. And I then post college, I went back to a boarding school and worked there for a year. So I was in the admissions department, so I was trying to sell boarding school to some of these parents. And I would talk about how when you go to boarding school, you're kind of like bowling with the what do they call it? The rails.
The borders.
Yes. And so it's really hard at boarding school to roll a gutter ball. If you really want to try and get your ball over the, you know, with the bumpers up, you can, but it's really kind of, you have this guidance system in place. And so that's
still high school.
Yes. And so it's that one step removed from your parents having to oversee everything you do and the curfew and are you doing your homework and all that. And it kind of falls to multiple people at school paying attention to you instead of just, you know, your parents.
Exactly. And your parents may not even have the right idea.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. Yeah. So,
you know, it's the luck of the draw. So going along with that, what was your routine like and how much time did you actually spend training? Because obviously from what you just said, it's not just about rowing, you're lifting, you're running probably, swimming? Not so much.
I wish I were better at swimming.
We would like you to be able to swim though, just in case.
That is the thing.
life
You
skill.
do need to have, yes, every kid on the team has to
fall
pass
out
a
of the
swim
boat.
test.
Exactly.
Do not want to get in trouble there. Really started picking up the rowing training in college. I went to Trinity College my freshman year.
Oh.
And actually,
Where Mark went.
Yeah.
My
It's a-
husband.
it's a great
So you
school.
probably know the coach from CBA, Brennan Ford.
I was there a long time ago.
Yeah.
He may be newer.
He's a little older, maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, interesting. But anyway, go ahead.
The rowing world is small,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I've
yeah.
been removed now
Right.
for some years. Trinity College freshman year, I actually went to cross country preseason. I still thought running would be a thing to explore. And then again, having the whole realization of like, oh, rowing is probably I'm better suited for that.
Mhm.
And then Trinity at the time did not have a 4-year undergrad engineering program. And so applied to transfer, got into Cornell and got there. And I went from feeling like I had a good grip on the routine, the schedule, the schoolwork,
Yeah.
the additional homework, and then the rowing work required there, you know, the practice in the morning, practice in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's hard.
The fun / kind of terrible thing about rowing is that while it's really only spring racing season, the one that counts, quote unquote, it's a year-round
Yeah, you
sport.
train
You
all
can't.
year. Yeah.
The off season is still very much doing the same thing, but perhaps you throw in some more cross training and all of that. But my love of early mornings, I joke, started very early on because that was the only way to fit in more.
4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5
4
a.m.
a.m. I mean, 5 a.m.,
5 a.m.
5:30.
5 a.m.
It depends on the time of year, but
You miss so much if you don't get up at 5 a.m.
I joke with people now. I say anything you can get done before 8 a.m. just feels free.
Yes.
I know it's
Yes.
not the effort it takes, the time, but
See, he's so on the same
you-
page
Oh
as us.
my
you show up
gosh.
to something at 8:15 and you've been up since 5:15 and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
You
what are
put
we
in
doing?
a whole day.
Well, yeah.
It's wonderful. But
Yeah,
you know what? You
okay.
had to be disciplined.
Yes, but part of discipline comes, I think, from initially having that motivation, right? But then you realize that motivation's fleeting. And so that determination and the discipline kind of has to fall in
Mhm.
because you want to be there for your teammates. You want to be able to continue to get better. And I think about rowing as this kind of ultimate steady, slow, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of progress where it's not going to be this all of a sudden, oh, I lifted a new PR and now I'm the best guy on the team. It's
Yep.
very much okay, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, right?
Yeah.
It's just very slow. I'm not condoning eating any sort of animals here, but that mentality of you just show up, yes, and then be willing to do the work. And we had a coach that he had some controversial things that he would say to us at times during practice, but one of the things that I stand by to this day is the best ability is availability. So if you're not there, how are you going to do what
That's
you're
right.
trying to do?
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how did you then decide? Because then you have all of your degrees and your MBA from Columbia. What did you actually feel like you were going to be doing when you finished? Like, what was your vision when we say like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?
That's a great.
Probably weren't
Do you
saying
know what you want to be when you
Olympic
grow up?
rower.
I'm still working
You're still
on it.
working on it. Because you had all of these academic degrees, and then to say, you know what, I'm going to go for a whole career in fitness.
Peloton was very much not the plan. Rowing post college was not the plan.
Mm-hmm.
With the civil and environmental engineering degree, I always had a love, starting early on with Lego and doing that, an appreciation for building things.
Mhm.
And so the civil engineering side of me, this is going to be super boring maybe, but I do love infrastructure. I think public transportation projects, highways, roadways,
Yeah.
bridges. I mean, yeah, okay, it's cliche, but driving across the country, and for rowing, I had to do that a number of times. Lived in Oklahoma City for a few months, and that's driving back and forth. We were based in Princeton for a little while. We'd go to Chula Vista, California for the winter months, so driving out there.
Yeah, so you get to really see things.
And you come to appreciate just how much work goes into creating these systems, and again, just ways to get around.
Yeah.
And then you get in a boat and you see all of the little details. So, you have to rig the boat and set the heights of things, and you have these spacers on the
Yeah,
oar
you're
locks that are
building things.
truly millimeters. And when you first set out in the sport or in anything new, you don't necessarily appreciate the minutia of it. But rowing became one of those things that made me tune in more to all the minutia just in everyday life. Circling back to your question, what was I going to do? My whole thing was real estate development. I thought big projects, my dream job post MBA, actually during first year, second semester, I had an internship with a small design firm in New
Mhm.
York City and loved it. We were renovating apartments and setting up. Yes, some of it was less glamorous, DOB form work and that type of thing. But again, the appreciation for, okay, one client wanted to have one of the non-structural walls removed so that they could have a sliding door.
Right.
But of course, this door needed to be big enough and weigh enough that it still felt sturdy when it was closed. And so sourcing those parts to be able to find the right, just everything. And it was weeks of calling companies, doing all this.
Mhm.
And then Peloton reached out. And so
They
So
just
how did they
reached out to
find
you.
you?
How'd they find
Well,
you?
because we're
Exactly.
skipping
Yeah.
the whole Olympics piece,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the rowing
that's
side of
okay.
things, yes.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Uh-huh.
Peloton's initial reach out was a LinkedIn message. And I did not have a LinkedIn before I started business school. And that was the whole, coffee chats, connecting,
Right,
networking, friends of friends, right? You don't want to get a job from your best friend or from your family. You want to get it from a tangential, a friend of a friend who can
Yes.
vouch for, that. And I was on vacation with my then girlfriend, now wife, and I got a LinkedIn message. I was like, well, this is a scam, right?
Mhm,
Peloton
of course,
doesn't do
Peloton's
rowing.
not calling me. Yeah.
And she goes, well, just reply to it. I'm like, you're in business school, like you have this internship, you're doing and 4 months later and multiple interviews, it was very much not a scam. It was real. And I finished my second year of business school working full time for Peloton.
Wow. So how
Wow.
old were you then?
I was 31, almost 32.
Okay, so it's just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I noticed from what you're saying is you just have such an appreciation for life.
Mhm. You do.
No,
You're
you know,
noticing
you
things
just,
that most people
Like
don't.
driving across country, somebody
Yeah.
else would be in the car just saying, when am I going to get there?
Mhm.
But you're noticing the bridges, noticing the infrastructure. I mean, it's just it just makes me happy to hear you talk about those things because it's so insightful. And that appreciation for life is what changes everything.
And it's
to be honest
present
with you.
moment awareness. Like how many
Yes.
people don't even pay attention to what they're
Exactly.
doing as they go
Exactly.
through the day.
And I think too that it has to do with the rowing. So it's like you're conscious of every single movement. Am I right?
Yes, it's
Mhm. It's full body.
Like the smallest little.
yes. First off, thank you. I do think there are so many wonderful things in today's current just everything climate. I think it's easy to get wrapped up in other issues
Yes.
and just blanket statement issues. I certainly go down those holes sometimes too. But when you do take the time to really focus in on something that means something to you that you care about, whether that's family, friends, or for me, sometimes it's a workout, right?
Mhm.
I tell people all the time in Peloton classes, and honestly, when I'm working out with friends, it's like, this is a big one. This is an important one. Like, focus in here. Other ones, that's not to say that every workout can't be important, but if you constantly are looking for things to just be great, like a spike and everything, it's like, I don't think you appreciate it as much. And so the peaks and the valleys, and yes, you want to be able to plateau, but noticing that even in a mundane thing such as driving across or driving anywhere, really,
Yeah.
Driving
I mean,
anywhere.
you drive into New Jersey and then you pull up at a gas station and you don't have to get out of the car, right? Yeah, that's something that
It's a difference.
it's a
Yeah,
difference.
it's
And
a difference.
you notice these
Mhm.
things, and the rowing aspect of it, I think, comes back to, I was rarely in a small boat. So in rowing, you have sweep and sculling. Sweep is one person, one oar. So
Mhm.
I was a starboard, both hands on this one going this way. So I could never row a boat by myself. I always needed a partner. So at least a pair,
Mhm.
then a 4, and then the 8. And the 8 is the big boat. You have the 8 rowers and the coxswain. And you're trying to dial in to the point of everyone's moving perfectly in
Yes,
sync.
together.
And you watch world championships. I mean, you can watch collegiate, you can watch high school races, and you'll notice when someone's oar is just out of parallel, or when their blade doesn't square at the same time as
Mhm.
everyone else's. And I was notorious for late square. And that just means as you come out of the water at the finish, you feather the blade, right? Because aerodynamics coming back up. And because I was usually in the bow seat, I always thought of it as, well, the more time I can be on the feather, the more aerodynamic we're being, right? I'm this guy in the bow, so I don't want to cause any more drag than I already am as
Right.
breaking through the wind. Coaches didn't see it as such. They just wanted me to square in time and do that. But you notice all these little tiny things that even the slight imbalance, and the boat will wiggle a little
Yeah,
bit. And as
yeah.
it wiggles, that what happens in 3 strokes is probably a byproduct of something that happened 6 strokes ago. And it kind of
Mhm.
feeling that out definitely makes me try and notice things more and appreciate what goes into, okay, in a week, what do I have coming up? It's not the day before, it's not even 2 days before, it's the week before, prepping for lining that up.
Right.
No, I love that.
Right. Yeah.
So fun. So then what is it like working at Peloton? People probably want to know.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I again, was not the plan, but I've rarely been more happy to not follow my plan to a T.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's
a good pivot.
yeah, as a number of my former teammates, former coaches have reminded me week after year that I've now been doing this. They go, you've somehow swindled a way for rowing to continue to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
And get paid to
And
do
get
it.
paid to do
Yeah,
it.
and get paid to do it.
And teach it to other people.
And you mentioned, and again, thank you for taking my classes, because some of my themes and talking points are definitely weird. And I say that not as a negative connotation, it's weird, but just weird. I don't like to hone in on, all right, this is the workout. You're going to feel like crap. It's like, what if I distract you just enough
Mhm.
to get you to maybe stop thinking about the workout for a few minutes, so that then when we do focus back in, you can click back on and go, oh, got it. Okay.
But they're exciting. Like there was even one that you started with the Jurassic Park theme,
Mm.
and it was like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was like the beginning. But it's fun because you know when they're themed, like, is that something that they kind of teach you to do, or is that your just style of like, I'm gonna just make all the classes kind of themed with something? Because sometimes it's just a word. Like the one I did today was all about prayer.
Yeah.
And so
Not religion.
not
That was
religion.
mentioned.
No,
Sorry.
not religion. But it was,
Yeah.
you
Let's
know,
preface
but
that.
usually it's a word, or you
Mhm.
figure out even sometimes halfway through, oh, this is what the theme is. What are we doing?
Yeah.
They very much did not teach me to do that. They sometimes I've been told to maybe scale back a little bit, and I've tried at times, but again, I go back to this idea that the amount of energy, focus, attention that Peloton members are putting into their workout,
Mhm.
I want to at least try and deliver on the agreement that we have, as far as, yes, I just exist on your screen here as this person, but I hope you get something semi worthwhile out of my
Or
class.
memorable. You're going to remember it afterwards. And
Even
not
if
like,
it's memorable for a very short period of
Yes.
time. I joke with people, but if in my years now at Peloton, the people that come up and say, wow, that class, that was this, I had surgery and never thought I'd be able to do this again, all that. And it's truly humbling and one of those things that I will never get used to, people coming up and saying how big of an impact I've had on their lives. And I don't know them, right? It's
right.
this parasocial relationship and all that. I don't ever want to take it for granted, but it's hard sometimes going into classes. I mean, even this morning, I'm like, okay, this is a 30-minute. We've done the same structure now. We're in the middle of this live cross-training plan. And how do you keep it fresh? How do you not let it get stale? Because you don't know which one of these classes is going to be the one that is memorable, that is marking a significant moment in someone's life.
Yeah.
And so trying to, not overplay the John Williams, Jurassic Park overture, but use it just enough so that it does become something that's like, oh yeah, that, and you come back to it.
Yeah.
So I think too that from what you're saying is like you recognize, as any good teacher does, that you have to connect with your audience, your students,
yes.
You just do. So that's your way of connecting. So you can't, and that's the, like, you're either, we kind of joke about it. You're either an instructor or you're a teacher. An instructor just like gets up there and says, okay, we're going to do this today, blah, 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 done. The teacher says, how can I connect with this class? How can I make you want to go to the next level?
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing. And you're doing that with people, this isn't like public school classroom, just say
Right.
where your kids, you don't know any of these people. We've done that, or we've gone into workshops with
all the
300
time.
people.
We don't know people.
We don't know anyone.
But,
and
I'm looking around and I'm thinking, okay, let me
you're
look at this
gauging
person,
the
one
audience.
person. If I
Yeah.
can connect with one person,
I
I
did
did
my job. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
invariably, people will come up afterwards and say, oh, when you said
this, it really impacted me. But
I mean, I feel like I should be taking lessons from the two of you. And I know you've yet to come and take a Peloton class. It doesn't have to be of mine, but of someone. But you talk about this idea of a teacher, right?
yes.
Being a Peloton instructor certainly has a teaching aspect to it, but there are only so many different ways and so many times that I can tell someone the rowing coordination or while running, right? There is a generally accepted pattern of how to move and how this, and yes, you don't want to be landing on your heels and sending all of that up through, but finding the different ways to connect.
Yeah.
And instead of just telling you this is the workout, this is what we're going to do, but actually, again, not trying to teach, but trying to figure out multiple ways to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how it's going to hit when you're actually 17 minutes into a 30-minute run, and you might say the same thing you said 14 minutes ago, but now after being a little more tired and yes, sweaty, I think there is something about a shared, I don't want to say suffering, but struggle,
Yes.
exertion,
Challenge,
It's a
a
challenge.
shared challenge.
that does bring people together in a way.
Mhm.
And similarly, I can get away with saying more ridiculous things later on in a workout because
tired.
yes, as
You're
opposed to right
fatigued.
off the bat
Yeah,
going at you
yeah,
with, okay,
yeah.
and let's just, ethereally, let's talk about that. It's like, yeah, you lost me. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. So every day is different. That's for sure. Right?
absolutely. It's only been 4 years now, but getting to teach live classes with members, live classes without members, even the coach to camera when it's just me in the studio
Mhm.
and, looking at the different cameras, all this, that still trying to find the right time to connect and specifically do something.
And that's hard.
That is hard.
I mean, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're all just still learning and growing, let's hope.
Yeah.
But so tell us about the Olympics.
Yes.
What was that like?
Because there are kids that are
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
and teenagers going, wow. Like
Yeah.
so many people aspire to get to that kind of level, and you actually did it.
I should preface this by saying I went to 2 Olympics, got 4th both times. The second time, Tokyo, I was asked to be the alternate. Obviously was not the plan to get to the Olympics and then come up short. I maybe should have taken the hint, because as soon as I stopped rowing in 2023, kind of in the lead up to 2024, it broke my hand, all this. All those are excuses, really just I wasn't good enough to make the next team. I was working, all this. In 2024, the U.S. men won the straight four, gold medal, first gold medal in 40 years for the straight four. And the 8 won a bronze medal. So I don't want to say I was the problem, it was me, but maybe had I stopped rowing in 2019, then the Tokyo Games would have been, but
You can't go backwards. You
no,
can't go back.
I only say that because there is something to the continuity of the sport. And rowing is one of those. You don't usually hear about kids getting into a rowing shell when they're 5 or 6 or 7, right? It's not one of those golf, tennis, even basketball, soccer, those things that you pick up and it's easy. There's so much that goes into it. And so the continuity of the guys who you row against in college, win some, lose some, but then over the summer, there's the development team. So you either have the junior team, which is 18 and under, the U23 team, which is more of the collegiate development program, and then obviously the senior team, which once every 4 years becomes the Olympic team. So the continuity of those guys that you row against, then row with, then train with, and then you go through this years-long process of training, seat racing, competing against, competing with, going to World Cups, going to World Championships. And then inevitably it comes down to one seat race on one day out of 1 week in the year that determines who's going to the Olympics or not.
Yeah.
And so I am forever grateful to all the coaches and teammates that put me in a position to be in that seat race, that I could come out on top and got to compete at the Olympics, all the while recognizing that I played a very small role in the overall process of me getting there. And similarly, this is my roundabout way of saying the gold and bronze medal that they won in Paris, I also had a part in playing there too. Because I do think there's this thread of teamwork in the sport of rowing.
Yes.
Of course, to all the guys who won those medals, I take zero credit for any of your work. That is not, but just the true, you see some of the posters that people have and, the cat hanging on saying, hang in there and all that. But a common one for rowing is you see the sun rising with the fog coming off the water and it says,
people are in the boat.
Yes. And it looks beautiful. And it says teamwork.
Yes.
And for that brief moment where the team is named and you're wearing your, Olympic gear or whatever it is, and for us, we don't go to the opening ceremonies because we're a first week of the 2 weeks, so we don't do that, but we go to closing. There is that sense of yes, teamwork. The other, 49, 50 weeks out of the year, even sometimes in the lead up to a World Championships or an Olympics, you look across at the boat, right? Because even when we were training in the 8, we'd still split up into 2 4s, and you'd look across and know that they were your teammate, that you were going to be competing with them in, maybe the practice that later that day. But in that moment, you're like, I really dislike that guy. Like, I want to do nothing else than beat him. Right?
Beat him now. Yeah.
And so that whole poster concept of teamwork, you're like, yeah, is it though? But it is. And getting to compete, represent the United States and all that. And no, it's not military service. There are a number of other, I'd say, commendable jobs and things that people do as far as representing the United States globally. But there is something to looking down and seeing, the flag on your chest or on the guy in front of you and just going, all right, this is a big deal.
This is pretty cool. Yeah.
This is cool. And it means a lot.
It does mean
Wonderful.
a lot. It does mean a lot.
It does mean a lot.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah. And you worked hard to get there.
You did work hard
it's
to
not,
get there. No one handed it to you.
Literally,
No.
you started working at 14. Yeah. And how old were you when you were in the Olympics?
25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So,
But it was fun.
How do you handle all the pressure of that, especially now, since you're everywhere and people see you and probably people recognize you on the street? And
do they recognize you on the street?
It's
are
happened.
you still incognito or not really?
I would say mostly incognito.
Okay.
It's happened exactly 4 times in New York. And each time my wife has been with me and she starts laughing. And not in a mean sort of way, but just in a, okay, wow, the fact that this person recognized you. And then my wife says, oh, absolutely, he'll take a picture. And she, takes the person's phone and does. So yes.
But probably even with social media, people reaching out, how do you handle all of that? Because Cindy and I are very big on self-care. And sometimes a lot of our guests come on and they're doing all these great things for other people. But when we talk about what are they doing for themselves, they're like, oh, well, not much.
Yeah.
But how are you handling? Because that's also pressure. People talk about that a lot. I don't think anybody would love to be at a celebrity status where they can't go to the grocery store and they can't walk around and people are always intruding in some way.
Yeah. I'm terrible at social media. I should just say I'm
good for you.
Yeah. We hate it
which
too.
has become the newer response
Yeah.
from people, but I do think, I know generally speaking, people will say the internet is a terrible place and all those things. And I've found that perhaps this is just the Peloton side of it, but the notes and messages I get from members, yes, there have been a handful that are like, that was a terrible class. Like I did not like what you said, and I appreciate it, right?
But you know, you're gonna get that.
Absolutely,
You're
absolutely.
gonna get that, no matter what industry you're in.
If I created things that everyone liked, I would think that they'd have to be pretty blasé and bland. And that's not to say that I ever intentionally try to do something that is going to provoke or, but way more are the messages that are just wonderful. And even people that will say, you know, I was pretty resistant to taking your classes at first because you look a certain way and don't come across as kind of being inviting and all that. Which
remember, people say all kinds of crazy things.
Wow.
They just put it
I mean,
out
when
there.
I'm sitting there on a rowing machine or on this, and I don't know, these class grabs before, so that the little tile you see on your device, all this, a lot of the instructors will do this and the poses and, you know, this. I've tried to keep mine relatively funnier, easier, because if I just every time am doing this like dead stare and kind of the muscles, it's like
when you look at the guys on the boat across.
Right. It's not that inviting,
like, he
right?
doesn't look nice.
No.
Especially if you don't know me.
mean.
I promise you, I'm not trying to, you know, compete at that stage anymore. So as far as the self-care goes,
what do you do for yourself? Because now you have this big job, you have a wife, you have a baby. It's not easy.
The time thing, I think getting up early and having that couple of hours to myself for my workouts. And then, I think being in New York has given me the opportunity to just enjoy existing, walking around with the dog. Now the baby is getting slightly large to put in the carrier and just walk around, but still, the self-care stuff, I think the routine, you know, the discipline of, all right, he goes to bed at 7, we stay up for about 45 more minutes, and then we start our bedtime routine because at 5 a.m. my day start, you know, do all this. So it's all part of it.
So I have to ask you, you know, I think a lot of athletes suffer from maybe some anxiety when they make a mistake. So, or, you know, they have a hard time coming back from that. So, and I'm not making a general statement. I'm just saying that it's a practice.
You can generally make it.
Yeah. So, you know, and especially with the sports that I coached, gymnastics, you know, running, you know, like, so it's individual, man. Like you know, now you're just
one error.
Yeah. One error. You're like, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
So, or, well, you have to come back. So what did you do to come back when you know, I don't know, dipped the oar too low,
or, you know,
or whatever it was.
You caused
you weren't in time.
something.
Yeah, you caused the boat to just be a little.
Well, my joke answer is that part of the reason I never wanted to row the single was because then I didn't have anyone else to blame when things went poorly. But the more serious answer is, I think making mistakes, making errors, it's part of the process. And yes, we had coaches that demanded perfection. Right? You think about, all right, in a rowing race, 2,000 meters, although in the upcoming 2028 Olympics, it's going to be a 1,500 meters, so it shortens it by 25%. So fewer strokes, which then puts more emphasis on just how valuable each stroke becomes. It used to be, you know, in the men's 8, it's roughly a 5.5 minute race. At 40 strokes a minute, you're talking 220 to 240 strokes, like these things. You make one mistake on one stroke and you do remember it, but the longer you remember that and let it affect what's upcoming, because if it's stroke number 7, well, you can't stop, right? You can watch some races and see where guys, it's called catching a crab, where your blade just goes a little too deep into the water on the recovery. And sometimes they're boat stopping crabs. Other times they're ejector crabs. They've actually launched people out of the boat, all these things. Fortunately, I won't knock on wood, but fortunately I never caught a boat stopping crab in a race until that.
Good for you.
Well, again, good teammates, right? You balance, you practice to the point where you can eliminate as many of those types of mistakes that may arise, full well accepting that you are going to make them and appreciating that the amount of practice and all that discipline that goes into, okay, this is why we take millions of strokes throughout the course of the year so that these 240 can be as perfect as we can get. Knowing that we made countless of terrible strokes in practice to kind of get them out of but
because that's what we work on with a lot of the high level athletes that we both see, is that they they get in a rut. Something happens, they don't do well, or even whether it's a team sport or individual, and they can't get it. They just can't get out of it. So it's hard to work on getting them to process and then leave it and move on.
I'm also, I guess, biased that being in a team sport provides you with that forever, I don't want to say the compatibility, but even if there are teammates that you don't like and they don't like you, when you're training with them,
you are a team.
You're a team.
You rely on
You're
them,
a family.
and you
and you know
need
they
that.
rely on you.
Yep.
Regardless of your like individual
Yeah.
compatibility, when
Right.
you're in that boat with them, and I won't name names, but there were guys that definitely didn't like me, didn't like my attitude towards certain things, didn't like how I handled certain situations. But once you're in the boat, strapped in with your feet, hands on, like you have to put that aside for the
Yeah.
greater good.
Yeah.
Even
The
if
greater
you know
good.
once you get back to the dock and take your oar out, and this has happened, you set your oar down on the dock and you go right up to that guy and you're like, you have it out with him,
Yeah.
right? That's part of being on the team.
Right.
And again, when they've made a mistake, all that, it's like, is that where you're going to go in on them and say, you really did that? And like you cost it. It's like, is that going to be good for the long term? And even in the Olympic final where, I mean, you want to talk, that was coming up on 10 years ago. I don't remember every stroke to, I could make it up and say, oh yes, when Germany pulled ahead and Great Britain was already, just down of view and all this. It's like, no, I remember the feeling of crossing the 1,000 and going, well, we're probably not going to medal. And I was in 3-seat, which for rowing people, 3-seat of the 8 is not really considered a super important seat. You're not, and I can say that because I was there. You're not in the stern pair, which is setting the rhythm. You're not in the bow pair because that's what's kind of setting the boat a little bit more. You're in the engine room. So you need to be perfectly in sync, well timed and all that, but also providing tremendous amounts of power connected to the water, all that. The rhythm was off coming through the 1,000.
Right?
You can
could
feel it, of course, right? I mean, you can feel it in race. You can feel it in a lot of things. And I could tell the rhythm was off. But what was I going to do at that point? Was I going to shout out like rhythm? All this thing. There's only so many things you can control. And in your compartment, you have to take care of your compartment. And so trusting that the guys in the stern were going to find a way to reset, do those things. And it's while you're still going. And yeah, it's a memory, but it's not this thing that, oh God, we failed and how am I ever going to recover from this? It's all right, how do we keep training? 2017, the year after the Olympics, we got silver at the World Championships. And I was the only guy coming back from the previous year's boat. But then 2018, we got a few more guys coming back and we set a world's fastest time in the men's 8 for the U.S. So
and then 2019, you get an award.
Yes,
well,
you had an award.
Yes, that was, again, I think, credit to my teammates. There may have been some collusion there. The voting system for the team awards.
So you're saying it was rigged?
It was rigged.
I did
So
not
you're
do
really
any
not
of the
supposed to do
rigging.
it?
But when 20 people are voting for male athlete of the year and 2 of your teammates convince 14 of them that they should vote for me, I don't.
They wouldn't just
also-
convince them. You must have,
It's also nice
you must
to
have
have
deserved it.
Yes,
You must have deserved it.
Definitely.
All right, we're
So
getting towards
we're
the
getting
end
to the
here.
end, but
Sorry.
what's a takeaway?
No, you're good.
What's
You're
a takeaway that you would want people to know? Like anyone that's listening to this, like what's some words of advice or wisdom that you could provide?
In general, the fitness and wellness, health and wellness, it's such a broad-ranging field,
Yeah.
right? Right now, I'm wearing my Garmin watch, which I've always had.
Got it too.
Recently,
I did
have
notice
another wearable. This is new as of this week. I don't like it. I guess if people say, no, that's not true. I don't like the additional amount of data that it gives me for seemingly no other purpose than to have more data. And I think along the lines of fitness and wellness, there are so many individual pieces of data you can look at to determine what is valuable to you. And sometimes people get lost in focusing in on one thing that may or may not actually make a difference. And so my one piece of advice would be try, and especially if you're starting out, right? And you think about the routine, you think about the hours that go into training for anything where you're not forced to do it, because after the age of 18, 20, you're not forced to do too many things in life. But when it comes to health and wellness, don't get bogged down by any one piece of data, of, fitness influencer kind of pushing something on you. Take it from a macro level, and how do you put it into actual practice? And it's just starting with the showing up, being open to, all right, I didn't sleep that well. I don't need to look at any sort of app or thing to tell me that I'm not feeling that well. But I know that after 30 minutes of something, after 45 minutes of doing this, even just going for a walk, that'll be the step in the better direction of doing something is better than nothing. And
it makes really
wise
good
advice.
sense. Yes, absolutely.
not to belittle any of the wearables and all that.
No, but sometimes it's too much data. It's too much, and you don't want a number dictating what your day is going to be like.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
All right. So these are questions that we ask everyone. So you had mentioned that you watched a few of our podcasts, so you probably know what they are. We'll see if you're prepared.
Well, I listen to that. The watching.
No,
I like.
You don't have to watch.
Okay.
You don't have to watch.
I meant
No.
listen.
Mhm.
How do you view failure?
Inevitable. I think.
True.
I think back to any of my successful moments in my very limited rowing career. It was after some sort of failure, big, small, in between. Yeah. To think that you could go through any sort of athletic endeavor, but probably any endeavor. I mean, building a Lego set, and that piece was the dark gray, not black piece that I was supposed to put. It's like, okay, you can get bogged down in it, but it's inevitable.
Right. Beautiful. Is there something you want to change?
Just a yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. So what's holding you back?
I mean, my own probably insecurities as far as being willing to take the first step to making the change, not knowing if it's going to be the right direction. I think it was Churchill maybe, who said, when faced with a decision, the best thing to do is the right thing. The next best thing is anything. The worst thing is nothing. And I've probably been doing nothing for too long when it comes to a few specific changes.
Obviously
You're
after
gonna
this podcast, you're gonna go out there and
you're
take
like
a
the
step,
next
huh?
question.
At least do something. Yes.
So what's one thing you can do to move yourself forward towards this change that you have been doing nothing about?
Just remember, small steps.
For me, it's been, and truly in the last week and a half, committing to other people that I'm making the change and they're involved in that step. So now bringing them in. Yeah. An accountability buddy, a booster of sorts, getting them involved where it's also useful for them to be involved, not just me reaching out to someone saying, hey, I need you to hold me accountable, but saying, I need your help. And there's legitimate reason for you to do this because it would be better for both of us.
That's good. And asking for help is important. You got to do that too.
And having trust in other people that you can, I mean, like I have the ultimate trust in that person across from me, but a lot of people don't have that with even another person who's not like their partner or, it's just, it's a hard thing.
Yeah. I think about, again, participating in sports, participating in team sports, activities, all that. You have this built-in community of people.
That's right.
And you show up and, again, guys on the team that you love, guys on the team that you love less, I will say, they're still part of your team.
That's right.
And the easiest way to get someone to join your team later on in life when you don't have a, practice time and all that is to reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to do this with you. Or I'm reaching out to you for help, genuinely asking you a question.
Right. Yeah.
Worst case, they say, yeah, no thanks.
Exactly.
But at least you asked them, right? And that's what you have to do. So
true.
Oh boy. Well, our time has gone by way too fast. But for people who are maybe tuning in and they're saying, well, now I think I need to take one of these classes. See, how can people find you, even if they're not a Peloton member?
I mean, I do have a social media, recently changed the handle to I am Alex Karwoski. Super innovative, I know. Otherwise,
nice and simple.
Yeah,
make it simple.
Very, very simple. But otherwise, Peloton is the best kind of. I look at it as you don't want too much of me, in small doses, as my siblings remind me. And the Peloton kind of class ecosystem is a good good place.
Okay. And I think probably everybody's heard about it by now. Most people know what Peloton is. So,
Right.
so wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing
you
your
both.
time here and
Thank you.
driving here and being here with us
Yeah,
in
he had to
person.
rent a
My pleasure.
car.
Rent
and
a
it was the whole
car,
nine
and you
yards.
can't
But he
even
enjoyed the
stay.
ride.
Enjoyed
Yes.
it.
Just-
Appreciated the
And now I really
the
understand
miles.
why you enjoyed the ride.
Yes. And he's got to go right back now and teach
Yep.
more classes.
There
But
you go.
Yeah.
we will be back with another episode. And as you know, Cindy always does our words of wisdom at the end.
All right. So, boy, I'll tell you what, we've had so many wonderful guests, but Alex is the epitome of do hard things.
Mhm.
It's the only way you grow
Yes.
and keep growing, no matter how old you are. And remember to pause, breathe, and then respond
Mhm.
instead
Yes.
of always reacting.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much.
Thank you.